Hey everyone, I am doing the Formative Deck Tag. I saw this on Simon Hermit's Cave channel, and I know somebody else started it, and I'm going to have to look that up and put them in the link below because I know he didn't start it, but it was somebody else. So I apologize if you're the person that started this, but I will put a link below as to who it was. But so I'm going to show you a few of the decks I still have that were very formative for me. The first deck I ever got was not this one. It was a Native American themed tarot, and that was back in 1995. And I got it because I really wanted a tarot deck, and the only one at the bookstore was that one or the Rider-Waite-Smith. And I mean, I really, hindsight, should have gotten Rider-Waite-Smith, but I was like, everybody has that one. So I got the other one, and it just had like a little white book in it, and it wasn't very clear, and I ended up like reading with that a little bit and then not really jiving with it, and then I got this one. So this is the Mythic Tarot, and it is in a beautiful wooden box that my partner handmade for me. He hand makes these for tarot decks, if anyone's interested. So this is not the original copy. The original copy, I don't know if it got lost in a move. I don't know if I gave it away, but I did end up getting back a copy, and it's one of my favorite decks, and it is the one that I really learned tarot on. It comes with a wonderful book that compares the tarot with stories of Greek mythology, which I was already familiar with, and so it really helped me to learn the tarot. So it's got great imagery here, like for example the King of Wands has got very Aries imagery here with the fire and the sheep, so it really helped me with those astrological connections and mythological connections. These suits follow each one follows a particular Greek story, like Greek myth, which really helps with understanding it. Like the pentacles are all Daedalus, and the swords are Orestes, and all of the major arcana are different gods and goddesses of Greek mythology, so it really helps you to understand that. I believe the wands is Jason and the Argonauts, and the cups are Psyche and Eris. So it really helps you, if you already know Greek mythology, to understand the cards. So this was really the first deck that really helped me to understand the cards, to sort of memorize what they mean, and to have those associations with them. So that is the first deck I was going to show you. After that, I got a couple of Arthurian decks because I was really into Arthurian stuff at the time. I also worked with the Osho Zen a little bit, and I started to collect some tarot. However, unfortunately, just with the way life was and stuff at the time, I didn't have, let's say, the most supportive partner. I ended up getting rid of some, although I did keep some decks, the odd deck. And then when I left, I started really getting back into tarot. Now, one of the decks that I still have from that time period was a deck that I read with actually for quite a while, and that is the Golden Tarot. Now, for those of you that, have watched my channel for a while, you know that I really love medieval art and medieval history, and this is a collage of a lot of different medieval and also some Northern Renaissance type art. So this is a deck that's kind of retired, but I did read with it for quite a while. I really love this style where it's taken art from, just different famous paintings and imagery from like illustrated manuscripts and altarpieces, and really put them together in a way that, goes with the Rider-Waite-Smith system while still honoring the artwork of that time period. So very cool. So this deck's kind of retired. I just used it for a really long time, but that doesn't mean I'll never pull it out again. It's just, not one that I pull out all the time. But I read with that one actually for quite a number of years, probably in the early 2000s. Another deck that I still have is the Revelations Tarot. So this is one that really helped me to learn reversals. Now, I know not everybody reads with reversals, but for me, I really do like to. So I like how this has, an upright and an upside down picture. So really helps you to remember what the meanings are for uprights and reversals. So I really do like that. also kind of like, it's very modern, but it also has this sort of stained glass element to it, which I definitely enjoy. It's also the colors tend to go with what suit it is. So I really did learn a lot from this tarot, and I have read with it quite a bit and had this one for a number of years. So there's that one. As for oracle decks, the first oracle deck I got, and I got this back when I was in university in the 90s, is the Goddess Oracle. This is the first oracle deck I got. So I got into tarot, and then I remember finding this deck in a bookstore, and I mean, I only really knew about tarot. Oracle was kind of like a newer thing at the time, but I really love this deck. I still have it, of course, obviously. It came with the book. I think I'm missing one card from this. I'm missing Hathor, but I still use this deck. I think that the images on this are really lovely. I think the artist tried to stay very true to the imagery and the culture that these goddesses represent and come from. I love that there's a diversity of ages as well. It's just really, really neat, and it helped me to, you know, learn more about some mythology that maybe I wasn't as familiar with. And I think it's really beautiful, and I think it honors, you know, the goddess and the feminine from all over the world. Really love this oracle deck. Still use it all the time. This is an oldie but a goodie, that's for sure. Next, I'm going to show you a couple of other decks I got pretty early on that I still work with today. This is another early oracle deck that I got. It is the Druid Animal Oracle. So this one, you can, I mean, both of these decks, oracle decks, you can still get. They're still out there. They're still in print. So, but this is beautiful. Again, you know, for a while I was really into, like, you know, Arthurian legend and Celtic mythology. And so when I saw this Druid Animal Oracle, I snapped it up, and I still use it all the time. Actually, I pull a different one every Sabbath. This is sort of my Sabbath deck. Beautiful, beautiful artwork. Really love working with it. Beautiful animal energy. And this one too, you know, the oracle decks really helped open things up for me. I think that having oracle decks in conjunction with tarot, working them together, you know, sort of doing a card reading and pulling an oracle deck. I also pull oracle decks certain times of year. Like I said, this is my Sabbath deck. You know, really gave me cards not just as a divination tool, but also as like a ritual tool to work with, something to honor, you know, the divine with. So I'm very appreciative of that. Next, I have this Rune Deck. I don't know if this one's still in print because I've never seen it again, but it's by Silver Ravenwolf, and it is a rune card deck, and there's a book that goes with it. And this really helped me to learn runes because it has the picture on here, and the picture really helps you to remember what it is and what it means, because runes, you know, they represent letters, but they also represent concepts and ideas. They have associations with different Norse gods and goddesses, and these pictures really help me to learn that. So the book comes with both upright, reverse meanings, but also comes with like instructions of how to do things like bind runes and spells and things. I really, really love this Rune Deck. Again, this is one I've had probably since university. So probably since, you know, the late 90s, early 2000s, somewhere in there. Really wonderful deck. Like I said, still use it to a day. Actually, at the beginning of the year, I usually do a rune reading just to see what energies are coming for the coming year. There we go. So yes, that is my Rune Deck. Another early oracle deck that I got that was the Brian Froud's Fairy Oracle. I think this came out early 2000s. Again, that's from this era where I started to just really collect oracle decks to see that, you know, I think there was also just an explosion in oracle decks at that time, that it was more than just tarot. This deck really, to me, represents how I see fairies. To me, this is like the closest. I love that the fae here is both dark and light, mischievous. Some are, you know, very tricky. Others are more benevolent. It's just a wonderful, wonderful deck. The artwork is gorgeous. I know some people have had issues with this deck. There's some people who just feel like they can't work with it. And I think, you know, it depends. Everyone's different, of course. But I think, you know, some people work with the Fae a little better than others. Just like with anything else, right? It depends kind of what you jive with. Also, you know, what your feelings about the Fae are and how you see them. So beautiful deck, one that I've worked with again for a long time and continue to use in my practice, particularly like honoring fairies and things. I use this deck on my altar. My first daily draw deck. So I started, I guess in the 2000s, pulling a card every day. And for years, it was with this, the Wisdom of Avalon Oracle cards. This is Colette Baron Reed's first deck, and her decks, a lot of them continue to be favorites of mine. So this one is from the first edition. And the first edition had for every, see this deck is divided into things like archetypes, animals, and then there's places. And on the newer versions, each place has a different image. But the first edition just had this signpost here. So burden, so you can see here, let it go. And then you've got these ones like animals like the raven, movement, serpent. So you can see all of the place ones look exactly the same, just the name here has changed. And all the later editions had pictures instead. As you can see, it's been shuffled a lot. The gilding has all kind of pretty much worn off, but it is still there. I haven't used this one in a long time. It's a retired deck. It was used a lot in the past. I'm not going to get rid of it. I may pull it out again at some point, but it holds a special place. I just, you know, it just doesn't have a place right now in my practice for daily draws or, you know, monthly draws or anything like that. But I still keep it out of funness, and it really helped me actually through a difficult time when I was, like I said, I was going through like getting out of an abusive marriage and everything. This deck was very helpful. So as daily draw deck, so I continue to keep it just, you know, sentimental value. Now another, as for Lenormand decks, the first one I ever got was this one, the Gilded Reverie. And as you can see, it is pretty bashed up. I only got this a few years ago when I just started to get into Lenormand. You know, I hadn't heard of it before, and then I think it was Kelly from the Truth and Story that started talking about them, and I was like, oh, what is this thing? And of course now, you know, we're all, I think, pretty familiar with that. So this box is pretty bashed up. It sits in my purse, but this is probably my favorite Lenormand deck by Ciro Marchetti. It has just such juicy pictures. Like, the colors are gorgeous. It's gilded. As you can see, this has been loved a lot. And again, the simple pictures really help me to learn the imagery and the meaning, help me to memorize things. So I really love this deck. I still use it all the time. Like I said, it's my purse deck, lives in my purse along with my tin of the Radiant Rider-Waite Tarot. So they live in my purse, and if somebody needs an emergency reading, that is what comes out, these two decks. And then, of course, I'm going to talk about my Rider-Waite Smith in a tin. So for a long time, I resisted getting a Rider-Waite Smith just because I was like, everybody has one, right? And I mean, I was certainly very familiar with the images. And you know what? I really didn't like all the muted colors in some of those decks or how yellow some of the decks are. But this one I really like because it's in a tin, nice and portable, great reference, and it's beautifully, brightly colored. I just think it's lovely. And now it's one of my absolute favorite decks. So really, really love this deck. So that is my my decks that were, what is the word I'm looking for here? These sort of formative decks. Thank you very much to the person who started this tag, as well as for Simon for sharing them. Let me know what your decks are. If you have liked any of these, if you're doing this tag, I'd love to see it as well. And always, thank you guys so much for watching, and peace and love and